How are you guys doing? Today is Monday, January 31st, 2021. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances that took place yesterday on Sunday, January 30th, 2022. Just to take a quick look at where we are at this point in the calendar year, we are in the second half of the college and pro NBA seasons. As it comes down to the NFL is now down to two teams left competing for this year's Super Bowl title. And taking a look at what's going on with soccer overseas, we are in the African Cup of Nations. We're through the quarterfinals now, as there are four teams left to go at it for the semifinals that are going to be taking place this week. And not to mention that we are in the second half of the European soccer schedule, as some nations are starting to get in the middle of World Cup qualifying, and some are getting out of it as well. So with that said, I'm going to start with college basketball with the 6th ranked team in the nation. The Purdue Boilermakers hosted the 16th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Purdue would beat Ohio State 81-78. They won this game by 3 after outscoring Ohio State by 9 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 16th ranked Ohio State Buckeyes were led in scoring by their starting forward, E.J. Liddell. Liddell finished with 20 points and 2 blocks in 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, and he shot 4 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Malachi Branham, out of Columbus, Ohio, will go on to finish with 20 points and 7 rebounds in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 6th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers were led in scoring by their guard off the bench, Jaden Ivey. He finished with 21 points in 31 minutes as he shot 8 for 20 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting center, Zach Edey, finished with 20 points in 21 minutes as he shot 7 for 9 from the field. With this win, the 6th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers are 18-3. They are 7-3 in the Big Ten. That is the 4th best record in the conference. With this loss, the 16th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes are 13-5. They are 6-3 in the Big Ten. Taking a look at what's going on with the 11th team in the nation, the Wisconsin Badgers hosted the unranked Minnesota Golden Gophers. Wisconsin would beat Minnesota 66-60. They won this matchup by 6 after they outscored Minnesota by 7 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 11th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers were led in scoring by their starting guard, Johnny Davis. He finished with 16 points and 15 rebounds in 37 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field and 2 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 11th-ranked Wisconsin Badgers are now 17-3. They are now 8-2 in the Big Ten. They are tied with Illinois for the best record in the conference. With this loss, the unranked Minnesota Golden Gophers are now 11-7. They are now 2-7 in the Big Ten. Taking a look at what's going on with the 17th-ranked team in the nation, the Providence Friars hosted the 22nd-ranked Marquette Golden Eagles. Providence would end up beating Marquette 65-63. They won this matchup by 2 after outscoring Marquette by 8 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 22nd-ranked Marquette Golden Eagles were led in scoring by their starting guard, Daryl Morsell, their senior out of Baltimore, Maryland. He finished with 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 6 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field. He made his only 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the 17th-ranked Providence Friars were led in scoring by their starting center, Nate Watson. Their senior out of Portsmouth, Virginia, would go on to finish with 17 points and 6 rebounds, all in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 17th-ranked Providence Friars are 18-2. They are now 8-1 in the Big East. They have the best record in the conference so far. And with this loss, the 22nd-ranked Marquette Marquette Golden Eagles are now 15-7. They are 7-4 in the Big East as everything stands, and that is what college basketball is looking like from yesterday. Taking a look at what's going on today, my 9th-ranked Duke Blue Devils are going to go to South Bend, Indiana, to face off against the unranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish on ESPN. Both teams are 7-2 in the ACC entering this matchup, and then at 9 o'clock, the defending champs, the 4th-ranked Baylor Bears, are going to host the unranked West Virginia Mountaineers on ESPN. Baylor enters this matchup with a 6-2 record in the Big 12. Taking a look at what went down in the NFL yesterday, we had both AFC and NFC championship games, as the amount of teams competing for the 2022 championship for the 2021 season has shrunk from 32 total teams all the way down to 4 at the beginning of yesterday to 2 today. Looking at the AFC championship game that went on first, the 4th seed Cincinnati Bengals would go to Arrowhead to face off against the 2nd-ranked Kansas City Chiefs. The Bengals would beat the Chiefs 27-24. They won this matchup in overtime. Taking a look at how the scoring went in this matchup, the Kansas City Chiefs would start with the first touchdown as Patrick Mahomes threw a 10-yard touchdown pass to his elite wide receiver Tyreek Hill. Evan McPherson kicked a field goal to start the scoring off for the Bengals as the Chiefs led 7-3 at the end of the first. The Chiefs started the scoring in the second quarter as Patrick Mahomes threw a 5-yard touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. He even threw a 3-yard touchdown pass to Mecole Hardman to put the Chiefs up 21-3 at one point in the game. Samaje Perine would catch a 41-yard touchdown pass from Joe Burrow to end the second half as the Chiefs led 21-10 at halftime. The third quarter would feature an Evan McPherson 31-yard field goal and a 2-yard touchdown pass from Joe Burrow to his elite wide receiver Jamar Chase to tie the game at 21. The fourth quarter would see Evan McPherson's field goal give the Bengals the lead with 6 minutes left, and the last play of the game would be a 44-yard field goal from Harrison Butker to tie the game. And after the Chiefs won the coin toss, the Chiefs would end up turning the ball over, and Evan McPherson would win the game on a 31-yard field goal to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and they would become they would assume the titles of the AFC champions for the 2021 NFC season. Taking a look at how both teams would fare in this matchup. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Kansas City Chiefs were led by their elite starting quarterback, the $500 million man, Patrick Mahomes. He would complete 26 of his 39 passes as he threw for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He also ran for 19 yards as he had 294 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher in their final game of the season was Jerick McKinnon. He had 12 carries for 65 yards. Their leading receiver was their elite tight end, Travis Kelce. He finished with 10 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. Their elite wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, would finish with 7 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. Mecole Hardman finished with 3 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown as well. On the defensive side of the ball, L'Jarius Sneed would lead the Chiefs in tackles as the lone sack would go to Melvin Ingram in the Chiefs' defense final home performance. L'Jarius Sneed, in addition to leading the team in tackles, would have the team's lone interception as well. On the winning end of this matchup, the road dog Cincinnati Bengals were led by their starting quarterback, the former number 1 overall pick and former Heisman winner out of LSU, Joe Burrow. He would complete 23 of his 38 passes as he threw for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He also ran for 25 yards. He had 275 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher was their starting running back out of Oklahoma, Joe Mixon. He had 21 carries for 88 yards on the day. He had 27 yards through the air. That would combine for 115 total yards of offense. And not to mention that their leading receiver was T. Higgins. He had 6 receptions for 103 yards on the day. Their elite wide receiver, Jamar Chase, had 6 receptions for 54 yards as he had a receiving touchdown. He had 3 yards on the ground, so he had 57 total yards of offense with this touchdown. Their third leading receiver, Samaje Perine, had 3 receptions for 43 yards as he had a receiving touchdown for himself. On the defensive side of the ball, Logan Wilson would lead the team in tackles as he had 10 of them. Sam Hubbard would finish with 8 tackles as he had 2 of the team's 4 sacks. Trey Hendrickson had 4 tackles as he had a sack and a half as he shared his with B.J. Hill, as Hill had 5 tackles. And B.J. Hill also had an interception. Von Bell would finish with 6 tackles as he had the team's other interception. He had the game-winning interception in overtime, which would help the Bengals get into field position. With this win, the Cincinnati Bengals will be the team representing the AFC in the Super Bowl Super Bowl 56. And taking a look at the NFC Championship, the Los Angeles Rams would host their division rivals, the San Francisco 49ers, in SoFi Stadium. The Los Angeles Rams would end up beating their division rivals 20-17 in the game that would send them to the Super Bowl representing the NFC. As the Rams scoring would start from Matt Stafford as he would throw a 16-yard touchdown pass to Cooper Kupp. Deebo Samuel would catch a 44-yard touchdown pass from Jimmy Garoppolo in the second quarter, and then a Robbie Gould field goal would put the Niners up 10-7. In the third quarter, the Niners would see Jimmy Garoppolo throw a 16-yard touchdown pass to George Kittle with 2 minutes left, as the Niners were up 17-7 going into the fourth quarter. Cooper Kupp would catch an 11-yard touchdown pass from Matt Stafford, and the Rams' deficit was shortened to 3. They were down 17-14. Matt Gay would kick a game-tying field goal with 6.5 minutes left to tie the game at 17, and then the Rams would get another chance with 1.5 minutes left as he kicked another 30-yard field goal. And then Jimmy Garoppolo would eventually fumble, or he would throw an interception, and then the Rams would end up win the game. It was on an interception. I'm not saying or. The game ended on an interception as the Rams would be in perfect position to kick a field goal, win the game, and represent the NFC in the championship. Or in the Super Bowl. This will be the second time in Aaron Donald's career that he will be going. This will be the first time in Matt Stafford's career that he's going. The first time for a lot of Rams on this roster that they will have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Looking at how both teams fared statistically, in their final game of their 2021 campaign, the San Francisco 49ers were led by their starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo would complete 16 of his 30 passes as he threw for 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He would run for 4 yards as he had 236 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher was their elite wide receiver, Deebo Samuel. He had 7 carries for 26 yards. He also had 4 receptions for 72 yards and a receiving touchdown, as he would finish with 98 total yards of offense. Their second leading receiver, Brandon Ayuk, had 4 receptions for 69 yards. Their second leading receiver was their second leading rusher. Elijah Mitchell had 20 yards on the ground and 50 yards through the air. He had 70 total yards of offense. Their elite tight end, George Kittle, had 2 receptions for 27 yards, as he had the other receiving touchdown opposite Deebo Samuel. On the defensive side of the ball, Ambry Thomas led the team in tackles as he had 13 of them. Nick Bosa, their elite defensive end out of Ohio State, would finish with 6 tackles as he had a sack and a half. He shared his other sack with Samson Ebukam, who had 3 tackles on the day. Jimmy Ward would finish with the team's lone interception as he had 8 tackles on the day. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown LA Rams were led by their starting quarterback, Matt Stafford, out of Georgia. He would complete 31 of his 45 passes as he threw for 337 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He also ran for 8 yards, so that's 345 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher was Cam Akers. He had 48 yards on the ground and 2 yards through the air, so that's 50 total yards of offense. Their leading receiver was their elite wide receiver, Cooper Kupp. He had 11 receptions for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Odell Beckham Jr. out of LSU finished with 9 receptions for 113 yards. Kendall Blanton finished with 5 receptions for 57 yards as well. On the defensive side of the ball, Eric Weddle would finish with the team high in tackles as he finished with 9 of them. Their go-to defensive tackle, Aaron Donald, would finish with 3 tackles for himself, and Travin Howard would finish with the team's lone interception as he had 2 tackles. With this win, the Los Angeles Rams have punched their ticket. They are the NFC champs for the 2021 campaign and for the 2022 NFL playoffs. And taking a look at what the next couple of weeks are going to bring, especially within the NFL. The next week, we are going to see the Pro Bowl matchup as the Pro Bowlers from the NFC are going to face off against the Pro Bowlers from the AFC. And then, of course, following that, we're going to be seeing Super Bowl 56. But first, Pro Bowl is going to be taking place on February 6th. It's going to be taking place in Las Vegas this year. It's going to be on ABC at 3 o'clock. And then these 2 teams are going to face off against one another at the Super Bowl 56 in SoFi Stadium, where the Rams play on NBC. So that'll be a very fun matchup to see. This will be the second straight year that a team that is hosting the Super Bowl, which is supposed to be a neutral site game. This will be the second time in a row that that the hosting team of the Super Bowl is going to be playing in the Super Bowl. Before the Buccaneers did it, it had never been done before. That's what's going on with the NFL. Taking a look at what's going on in the NBA, starting off in Atlanta, the Hawks hosted the Los Angeles Lakers. The Atlanta Hawks would beat the Lakers 129-121. The Hawks won this matchup by 8 after outscoring the Lakers by 18 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Lakers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Malik Monk. Monk finished with 33 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 12 for 19 from the field, 8 for 14 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Their elite starting power forward, Anthony Davis, finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes. He shot 10 for 20 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and he shot 6 for 9 from the foul line. Their goated starting point guard and the NBA's all-time leader in triple-doubles, Russell Westbrook, finished with 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 12 assists in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 2 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Trae Young. Young finished with 36 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, and 6 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 12 for 22 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 8 for 11 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, John Collins, finished with 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 steals in 26 minutes. He shot 10 for 13 from the field. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 24-25 on the season. That is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 7 games. That is the second longest winning streak in the NBA behind the Phoenix Suns. They have the longest winning streak in the East. The Hawks have won 7 of their last 10 games. They sit a game behind the 8 seed Toronto Raptors out East. With this loss, the Los Angeles Lakers are now 24-27. That is the 9th best record in the West. They've lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They sit a game and a half behind the 8 seed Minnesota Timberwolves, who are sitting at 500 in the West. Taking a look at what went down in Charlotte, the Hornets hosted the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers would end up beating the Hornets 115-90. The Clippers won this matchup by 25 after outscoring the Hornets by 21 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Hornets were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, LaMelo Ball. Last year's Rookie of the Year finished with 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 10 assists, all in 38 minutes as he shot 8 for 19 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting center, Mason Plumlee, would finish with 20 points and 10 rebounds in 24 minutes as he shot 5 for 8 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the LA Clippers were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Reggie Jackson, and their shooting guard off the bench, Brandon Boston Jr. Jackson finished with 19 points and 5 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field and 3 for 4 from 3. Brandon Boston finished with 19 points and 5 rebounds in 22 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Luke Kennard, finished with 14 points and 10 rebounds in 27 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night. With this win, the LA Clippers are now 26-26. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference. They've won 5 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 15.5 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns out west. With this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are now 28-23. That is the 7th best record in the East, as they've lost 4 of their last 10. They sit 4.5 games behind the first seed Miami Heat out east. Taking a look at what went down in Chicago, the Bulls hosted the Portland Trailblazers. The Bulls would end up beating the Trailblazers 130-116. They won this matchup by 14 after they outscored the Blazers by 14 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Portland Trailblazers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard CJ McCollum. McCollum finished with 29 points and 5 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 13 for 23 from the field, and he made his only free throw attempt on the night. Their starting small forward, Norman Powell, finished with 22 points in 34 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, and he shot 5 for 6 from 3, as well as 3 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Anthony Simons, finished with 21 points and 6 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Chicago Bulls were led in scoring by their starting center and former All-Star Nikola Vucevic. He finished with 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 11 for 15 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he shot a perfect 1 for 1 from the foul line. Their starting small forward, DeMar DeRozan, finished with 23 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 13 from the field. He made his only three-pointer of the day, and he shot a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Zach LaVine, finished with 20 points in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, and he would shoot 3 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the Chicago Bulls are now 31-18. That is the second best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've won 4 of their last 10. They sit half a game behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. With this loss, the Portland Trailblazers are now 21-29. That is the 10th best record in the West. They've lost 5 of their last 10, and they now sit 4 games behind the 8 seed Minnesota Timberwolves out west. Taking a look now at what went down in Detroit, the Pistons hosted the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Pistons would beat the Cavaliers 115-105. They won this matchup by 10 after they outscored the Cavs by 14 in the fourth quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Cavs were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Darius Garland. He finished with 24 points and 7 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 9 for 18 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and he would make his only free throw attempt on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Detroit Pistons would be led in scoring by their starting small forward, Saddiq Bey. Bey finished with 31 points in 36 minutes. He shot 11 for 20 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Cade Cunningham, their number 1 overall pick from last year out of Oklahoma State, finished with 19 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals, all in 37 minutes. He shot 7 for 12 from the field, and he would shoot 4 for 9, or he would go on to shoot, 6 for 21 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and he shot a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their point guard off the bench, Frank Jackson, finished with 19 points in 25 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their center off the bench, their starting center, Isaiah Stewart, finished with 14 points and 12 rebounds in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 12 from the field. With this win, the Detroit Pistons are now 12-37. That is the second worst record in the East. They've won 3 of their last 10. They sit 13 games behind the 8 seed Toronto Raptors out east. With this loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 13-20. That is the 4th best record in the East. They've lost 2 of their last games. They sit 2 games behind the Miami Heat, who are leading the East. Taking a look at what went down in Orlando, the Magic hosted the Dallas Mavericks, and the Orlando Magic would beat the Dallas Mavericks 110-108. The Magic won this matchup by 2 after outscoring the Mavericks by 16 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Mavericks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. He finished with 34 points, 12 rebounds, 11 assists, and 6 turnovers in 38 minutes. He shot 13 for 22 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Orlando Magic were led in scoring by their power forward off the bench, Chuma Okeke. He finished with 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals in 24 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. The Magic starting center, Wendell Carter Jr. out of Duke, finished with 14 points and 14 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end, or with this win, the Orlando Magic are now 11-40. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 4 of their last 10. They now sit 15 games behind the 8 seed Toronto Raptors out east. With this loss, the Dallas Mavericks are now 29-22. That is the 6th best record in the West. They've lost 3 of their last 10. They sit 12 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns, just to get a sense of where they sit. Taking a look at what went down in Milwaukee, the defending NBA champs Milwaukee Bucks hosted the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets would beat the Bucks 136-100. They won this matchup by 36 after outscoring the Bucks by 14 in the third quarter and by 14 in the fourth, a combined 28 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring by their elite starting power forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Greek Freak would finish with 29 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists in 31 minutes as he shot 9 for 19 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and 10 for 15 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Aaron Gordon. Gordon finished with 24 points and 7 rebounds in 28 minutes as he shot 10 for 17 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. Their elite starting center and last year's MVP, Nikola Jokic, finished with 18 points, 9 rebounds, 15 assists, and 3 steals, all in 28 minutes. He shot 7 for 9 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 28-21. That is the 5th best record in the West. They've won their last 5 games, which is the second longest winning streak in the West. They've won 8 of their last 10, and they sit 12 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns out west. With this loss, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 31-21. That is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 5 of their last 10. They sit 2 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat for right now. Taking a look at what went down one state over in Minneapolis, the Minnesota Timberwolves hosted the Utah Jazz. The Timberwolves would beat the Jazz 126-106. The Timberwolves would win this matchup by 20 after outscoring the Jazz by 14 in the second half, or by 16 in the second half, by 13 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Utah Jazz were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Bojan Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic finished with 23 points in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 11 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Mike Conley, finished with 22 points, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 5 turnovers in 29 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Minnesota Timberwolves were led in scoring by their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns. He finished with 31 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 8 for 9 from the foul line. Their power forward off the bench, Jaden McDaniels, finished with 22 points in 27 minutes. He shot a perfect 9 for 9 from the field, a perfect 3 for 3 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the night. He took 10 shots and made all of them. And their elite starting small forward, Anthony Edwards, finished with 15 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 6 for 16 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the day. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 25-25. That is the 8th best record in the West. They've won 5 of their last 10. They sit 15 and a half games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns. With this loss, the Utah Jazz are now 30-21. That is the 4th best record in the West. They've lost their last 5 games. That's the 3rd longest losing streak in the West. They've lost 8 of their last 10. They now sit 11 games behind the first seed Phoenix Suns. And taking a look at what went down in Phoenix, last but not least, the Phoenix Suns were able to beat the San Antonio Spurs and win this matchup 40-9, as they still remain the only team in the NBA that still has a single-digit amount of losses. They beat the Spurs 115 to 110. They won this matchup by 5 after outscoring the Spurs by 17 points in the fourth quarter to come back from behind and win. On the losing end of this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs were led in scoring by their starting small forward out of Creighton, Doug McDermott. He finished with 24 points in 28 minutes. He shot 9 for 15 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3. Off the bench, their shooting guard out of Miami, Lonnie Walker IV, finished with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in 27 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field and 2 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, their elite starting shooting guard, Devin Booker, finished with 28 points and 4 rebounds in 38 minutes. He shot 12 for 24 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3 as well. Their starting small forward, Mikal Bridges, finished with 26 points and 8 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, finished with 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 19 assists in 40 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are now 40-9. That's the best record in the NBA. They are the first team to cross the 40-win threshold as well. They're on a 10-game winning streak. That is the longest active streak in the NBA for right now. And they sit 3.5 games ahead of the second-place Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference. With this loss, the San Antonio Spurs are 19-32. That is the 5th worst record in the Western Conference. They've lost 6 of their last 10. They sit 6.5 games behind the 8th seed Minnesota Timberwolves in the Eastern Conference. That is what the NBA is looking like, of course, as we preview what's going on today, especially with the NBA. Looking at the primetime games on NBA TV, the Boston Celtics are going to host the Miami Heat in TD Garden. The Celtics have the 9th best record in the East, as the Heat have the best record in the East right now. Looking at the games that aren't on primetime at 7 o'clock, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to host the New Orleans Pelicans in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. The Indiana Pacers are going to host the LA Clippers at the Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and the Philadelphia 76ers are going to host the Memphis Grizzlies at the Wells Fargo Center. At 7:30, the New York Knicks are going to host the Sacramento Kings at Madison Square Garden, and the Atlanta Hawks are going to host the Toronto Raptors at State Farm Arena. And at 8 o'clock, the Houston Rockets are going to host the Golden State Warriors, and the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to host the Portland Trail Blazers. That is currently how the NBA is looking. And taking a look at what's going on with soccer, taking a look at the Africa Cup of Nations now that the quarterfinal round has now come to a close. The first matchup featured Egypt and Morocco. In this matchup, Morocco would score the first goal. It was a penalty kick from Sofiane Boufal. It was drawn by their elite defender, Achraf Hakimi. Egypt would tie it in the second goal off of a tap-in goal, off of a rebound by their elite forward, Mohamed Salah. This game would go into extra time, and then Trezeguet would score in the 100th minute to put Egypt ahead. Sorry if I butchered the name, by the way. But with this win, Egypt would be the 3rd team to punch their ticket into the 4-team semifinal. And looking at the second team, or the second matchup that would take place here, Senegal would face off against Equatorial Guinea. In this matchup, Senegal would open up the scoring from Famara Dedeu in the 28th minute. Equatorial Guinea evened up the game in the 57th minute with a goal from Yannick Bouila. And then Chiku Koyate scored in the 68th minute to put Senegal up 2-1, and then Ismaila Sarr would put them up 3-1 with the 79th minute goal to secure Senegal's ticket into the semifinal round. And the semifinal round will, of course, pick up on Wednesday, as the very first matchup that is going to be taking place there will be between Burkina Faso and Senegal. And like I said, we'll get to a day by day. Outside of that, in the FIFA World Cup qualifying matches for CONCACAF, Canada was able to beat the United States. Is its 7th minute goal came from Sile Larin, and then Sam Adekugbe's 95th minute goal would be Canada's cherry on top icer in front of their home fans. That would be what came from yesterday's matchups. And even just looking out to what's going on today, the only big matchup that's going to be taking place today will be this French Coupe de France round of 16 matchup starring PSG and Nice. The winner of this, of course, will go to the Coupe de France quarterfinal, as that's the domestic cup in France, one of them. And with that said, that's everything that I have for you, as that's how the world of sports is going. I want to thank everyone for listening to all 34 minutes of this piece. I really do hope all is well. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Tuesday, February 1st, to conclude the month of January for sports. But with that said, thanks for navigating with me through the world of sports one day at a time. I want to thank the ESPN, NCAA, NFL, NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed for this episode, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do that. And with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode of this tomorrow in February. Peace out.